YouTube, welcome to my channel. I'm Bella, and today I am finally reviewing His Dark Materials Season 3, Episode 8, The Botanic Garden, which is the Amber Spyglass, which is what Season 3 is in His Dark Materials. It is the last chapter. Okay, overall, The Botanic Garden is somewhat of an anticlimactic chapter. We've had the main thing, which everybody knows, the great fall into the abyss, and obviously the death of the god. Or, should I say, the false god Metatron has gone, and the creator god has been returned to the universe. Some people read that as killed, I read that as returned to the universe. The Amber Spyglass is a very, very complicated novel, and to be absolutely honest, the final laugh really is on Philip Pullman. To understand the Amber Spyglass, the Subtle Knife, and the Golden Compass, if you can call it that, it's actually the Northern Lights properly, you do actually have to have some Bible scholarship. So the Northern Lights, or Golden Compass, is very much like the New Testament in this, because you've got the suffering servant, cough cough Roger, which also means knife. Roger is a character from Lord of the Flies, who's actually a torturer in that, so it's interesting that Philip Pullman has taken that name and given it to a suffering servant, because let's face it, poor Roger does suffer throughout the whole of that book. Then you've got the Subtle Knife, which is more like the axe, and this is like the culmination of Revelation and Acts together. You've also got the Book of the Dust, which I consider to be Genesis of this. There are going to be 2 more books in the Book of the Dust trilogy. One is The Secret Commonwealth, which I absolutely hate, and the third one hasn't come out yet, so I don't know what that's going to be. So back to my review of the Botanical Garden. It is an anticlimax, but we do have some resolution with Lyra understanding about her parents, and it's very interesting because as a child, they're your parents, or in Lyra's case, uncle slash absent mother slash sometimes caregiver slash sometimes torturer. The complexity of their parental relationship is ongoing, but ultimately they did sacrifice themselves to save their daughter, so they get points for co-parenting in extremis. But they lose a hell of a lot of points for being arrogant, prideful arseholes who torture children and murder them. Both of them have done that, so they get that, even if Azrael was doing it for the greater good. Cough, cough, throwing a Dumbledore on us. Or should that be a before a Dumbledore? Anyway, moving swiftly on from that, what I really like about this book is the angels. Both within the book and in the episode, I thought the angels were really well done. They reminded me of HIV/AIDS, gay people. I know that sounds really weird, doesn't it? But that would be floating around because obviously when these were written, Philip Pullman would have lived through the AIDS pandemic, and it was a way of getting around the dreaded Section 28 of actually including LGBT people within literature, because remember that this book came out before Section 28 was repealed, very much like J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter saga, hence why you've got Dumbledore and Grindelwald burning for each other, but it's implied but never declared that they're both gay for each other. Just putting that out there. Same with this, only we do get the 2 angels kissing, but the thing is angels have usually been depicted as unisex, whereas in Philip Pullman's they're not, so that's kind of interesting going forward. It is anticlimactic, but back to what I was saying about Lyra getting resolution with her parents when she tells Will, I thought that was handled really well, and it's often said that when your parents are dead you actually understand them better as people, because before that they're your caregivers as a child, so the relationship changes. I think that that is what Lyra is going to uncover, far more about her parents now that they're dead, which is kind of sad really, but that's life. It does become, the episode, The Botanic Garden, does become something of an atheist parable, and basically preaches atheism to you, which is kind of interesting because he's using Genesis to do so, hence with the serpent and various other bits, even though in my eyes I see the Amber Spyglass as somewhat fulfilling Revelation, but that's beside the point. Mary Malone is brilliant in this. She's a really, really strong character, very earthy, very noble, loved it. Ex-nun, now physicist, loved her depiction, absolutely brilliant. Does change from the books, because in the books she falls in love with a man, in the film she falls in love with a woman, which was something that he couldn't actually do because of Section 28. as I've said before. Felt that they handled it really lovely in the series, and she's actually one of the best parts of the series. She holds it together. Go Mary Malone and the Blue Elephants on roller skates. Absolutely adored them, could have watched them all day. It's Lyra and Will that somewhat let down this episode, and that's not really their fault actually, because the book was far better at describing their relationship and their love and their seduction slash it changing from being friends to something more, far better in a book than you can depict on screen for safeguarding reasons, which I felt they were very respectful towards both of the young actors that played Lyra and Will throughout the whole series, throughout all 3 seasons of this, but particularly this episode. And because of that, you don't really get the punch that they're lovers, and some of the information is missing, particularly when they stroke each other's demons, when I know it's implied that that is somewhat sexualised, but actually I think it's far deeper. It's almost like soul connection. It's the most intimate thing that you could do in Lyra's world is to stroke somebody's demon. And it's interesting that in the first book, Northern Lights, when they have Mrs. Coulter and Lord Asriel meet, their demons actually hug each other because they know each other so well. So that's interesting in itself. So as I was saying, I felt that the relationship between Lyra and Will was handled really well, respectfully regarding their age, but actually the text and what's written in here was somewhat lackluster. And that's no disrespect to the actors, because they've been brilliant all the way through. It is very difficult to go from that deep protective friendship that they had, because one of the reasons why Lyra did not take Will to her father was she was protecting him, and it's also a reason why Will never took Lyra to her parents, because he was protecting her. We've known all the way through that there was something more to their relationship. It has never been openly, directly stated, and the offering of the fruit was good, but you just didn't feel the impact, hence why I called it anticlimactic. We all know the separation, and I felt that that was handled really well with the knife and everything. Overall, it's still a 5 out of 5 series. It's just this episode, and it comes off clunky because it's preaching atheism so much that you actually lose the story between the characters, and it's because Mrs. Coulter and Lord Asriel's love is so denied, even though it's explicit. That is the big story. You've got these 2 adults. To then transfer it to almost young adults is very difficult to do, and doesn't really pack the punch that it should on film, and that could be because this is the first time that it's been filmed. I think that going forward it will get better. We will improve that. But also we've got to be mindful that we're dealing with 13, 14-year-olds, so there's certain things that are not allowed to be shown. So it is going to be incredibly difficult to get the depth of feeling across. You understand Lyra's relationship with Roger far more, I think, because you understand the deep connection that they've had to each other. Lyra and Will meet, they do have that deep connection, but it's not allowed to be visible. I'm loving the fact that they, in season 3, they did add that lovely bit where they went to go and see Paddington at the movies. I thought that was great. It's like almost like little dates leading up to the Botanic Garden. The dealing with the aftermath, the leaving was done really well, and then the meeting up was great. Though Lyra's wardrobe was something to be considered, but then again, her world is sort of stuck in the 1940s with its attitudes and ideals towards women. And it's interesting because I think that refers to something that happened to her mother, because when her mother came back to the magisterium, her mother sent that trunk of clothes and said, wear these, they will protect you, wear dresses, they're like your armour. Even though that wasn't said, it was implied, and I thought that that was interesting within itself. Overall, 5 out of 5, absolutely enjoyed the whole of the series. This episode I'm going to actually give a 4.5. But then again, we have been waiting such a long time, and what do you expect? Because it is a young adult novel in the end, but at the time it was written there was nothing quite like it, and there hasn't been anything quite like it since. Unfortunately, to be able to understand its nuggets, you actually do have to have a bit of biblical scholarship to be able to understand what Philip Pullman is preaching about regarding religion and atheism. So it's a much deeper work, on many levels, but people can enjoy it for just the story as is. But I always want to know more, like what is Lord Asriel's real name? All we forgot is Lord Asriel. We do not have a first name for him, which is very annoying because we know Marissa Coulter's name. See, it's supposed to be about Lyra, Silvertongue and Will, but yet all everybody wants to talk about is her parents. That tells you something. That really does. I'm hoping that with the Book of the Dust trilogy, the final part of that will give Lyra the ending that she actually deserves, because the Secret Commonwealth did a great disservice. Anyway, that's not the review I'm supposed to be doing. My review of the Botanic Garden is done. It is a 4 out of 5 for me, 4.5 out of 5 for me. That's that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment and subscribe, and thank you for the support. Bye!